Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Dominick from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel over here doing another guest review for organicpricedbooks.com. And today we're going to be looking at another Marvel Omnibus. That's right, we're checking out the Avengers Omnibus Volume 3. A couple quick things about this book. The issues in this volume were written primarily by Roy Thomas and illustrated primarily by John and Sal Buscema. The comics in this volume were published by Marvel Comics beginning in 1968. The volume itself collects The Avengers issues 59 through 88, The Incredible Hulk issue 140, and Marvel Superheroes issue 17. This is an oversized hardcover edition with nice glossy print paper stock, a sewn binding, and a total of 768 pages. Starting in 1968, this is collecting, still some Silver Age greats here. We're starting to get closer and closer to the Bronze Age of comics, but this volume really does close out the 60s for the Avengers, and honestly, it's really cool to see these characters and the creators kind of mature throughout this run. Roy Thomas had a very long tenure on this book. It's not until volume 4 that we start to transition writer over to Steve Englehart, but this is still right in the thick of that Roy Thomas era, and it is a blast. The art throughout the collection, primarily from the brothers Buscema, is really great as well. We have Big John doing pencil work for a while, we have Sal taking over, and every so often they alternate, and we have a couple other pencilers thrown in there for good measure. Such a fun run. I love all the different character changes we got throughout this book as well. But let's go ahead and look at more of the book. The front cover of this dust jacket is a ton of fun. This is the direct market cover for this omnibus. I'll throw up a quick thumbnail for the standard edition cover for this Omni, and that way you can compare and kind of get an idea of what may be for you. As far as the design, once we get to the spine especially, you can tell it's the new format for the Silver Age Omnibus edition, so we have a smaller typeface, creators toward the bottom of the spine, along with a little picture window. I will say I do like the update. It's just a little bit frustrating to collectors who have the old editions and the new editions. I understand that. But it's a really clean look, and I will say the direct market spine has a different picture window than the standard edition. You'll get a look at what that looks like on the actual hardback book itself in a moment. Transitioning to the back of the dust jacket, we have the thumbnails of all the different covers of the issues included in the book, and they're pretty decent size. You can get a good feel for what's in here, and it has the collected issues as well on the bottom. This dust jacket design is all standard fare for these Silver Age collections, but I still like to see it. There's a uniformity with it. Like I said, other than the spine update, everything is pretty expected, and I just really like it. I like how they do it over here at Marvel. Love seeing the thumbnails of the covers. It looks good. And now we can go ahead and do one final examination of the dust jacket. I'll show you the interior flaps and spread out the whole dust jacket so you can see it all at a glance. After I do that, I will transition to showing the actual hardback book itself. You'll get to see the print on it, which basically has the Avengers sort of logo, the spine design, which is kind of a mirror of the dust jacket design. But like I said, on this actual hardback book, the picture window you see on this spine will actually match the one that will be on the dust jacket for the standard edition. So you'll see it is a little bit different. My direct market has a picture of Wanda, and again, it's just a little bit different on the actual hardback here, which is indicative of that standard edition. The back of the hardback book just has the Avengers A, which is always fun to see. And now let's go ahead and spread out the hardback book itself so you can see what this all looks like at a glance. Unlike some of the contemporary, more modern omnibuses that might have like full-on art prints, sometimes wraparounds, this is pretty indicative for a lot of their Silver and Bronze Age collections. And now we're going to go ahead and do a quick look at the binding for this omnibus. Like I said, it's a nice sewn binding. I will say I was really happy with mine. This is still in a time where we have nice white borders along a lot of the pages here, so the gutter loss was minimal to non-existent, and overall I have no complaints here. I think it was really well made, everything laid open quite well. Again, very good omnibus binding. And now, without further ado, we can go ahead and break into the book itself. We have some nice black end pages, then we go into the title page, publication, bibliography kind of page. We get into a table of contents, which I love seeing. Everything is nice and page numbered. You can index all of the issues quite well. This is also after we get the creator page, where you can see everyone attached to the books, kind of the credits. And then we jump right into a really fun introduction from, I believe, Roy Thomas. this. I think he does the introductions all throughout this. We have, I think, 3 introductions throughout this omnibus, kind of like the previous edition. These introductions serve as sort of a template for what occurs in those 10-ish issue chunks throughout this book. I believe they were lifted from the Marvel Masterworks introductions, but I really like them. Sometimes they have mild spoilers, but it really sets the tone. You kind of get into the mind of the creator of what went into these issues, what they're thinking about, things like that. And then you tee off with the following issue, which I believe in this case was issue 59. So this book takes place directly after when the Vision joins their team, kind of the origin of that character. And the first major story here we have is the introduction of Yellow Jacket, how he interacts with the team, his dynamic with the Wasp, and some revelations about his identity. It's a really fun, just couple issue little run there, and that kicks off this book proper. As far as other highlights in this book go, I will say we don't have as many notable first key appearances of main heroes or villains. There are a few, I will say, but what I think this book is better at is reintroducing some older villains that maybe have menaced the Avengers in the past. Characters like perhaps Ultron or Kang the Conqueror or the Enchantress. And I really like seeing some of these villains return. Of course, we have new villains as well. But it was fun to see some of these recurring villains show up again. I think at this point, too, in Roy Thomas's run, he's really gotten the voice of a lot of these characters established. I really feel like he's settled into a lot of the character work here, and I really dig it. And unlike Volume 2, I think that Roy Thomas is able to play with more of the cast of Avengers he maybe wanted to play with. What I mean by that is throughout this book, we do have several appearances from characters like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, to name a few. Some of the more earlier era Avengers we got under people like Stan Lee kind of come back in this run to make appearances, join the team for a little bit. And I really like that. You really get this feeling, especially from his introductions, that he wanted to play with the whole sandbox of Avengers, and I think we have that. Like the previous volumes, we do have a changing of the guard a few times in this book. So we have, Wanda and Pietro, the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, respectively, just showing up a few times. We have Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne. We have, the Wasp and Ant-Man, or whatever, coming in and out a bit. We have a lot of changes for the character of Clint Barton, Hawkeye. So we have a lot of those things happening with some of those Avengers. We have Black Panther show up. Really some good stuff there. One of my favorite issues in this collection is actually the origins of T'Challa. He, of course, had his first appearance in the pages of Fantastic Four. He's already been in this book a bit. He's made his way around Marvel Comics. But we actually get a full-on origin issue for him later in this omnibus. And honestly, that was a highlight for me. I really loved that issue. I think it was really cool that they dedicated it to that. Throughout this issue as well, we have kind of the Marvel team sort of commenting on different social or civil rights issues going on at the time in the late 60s, early 70s. So that was kind of interesting to see as kind of a time capsule. We also have the letters pages reproduced here in this book where appropriate. I will say I skim the letter pages when I do my read-throughs, but I've gotten some really good little nuggets in there for those that are kind of more historically minded when they go about these comic collections. I think it's just generally pretty cool to get a little bit of a pulse of what the readership was feeling at the time and kind of how the creators responded around that or were maybe influenced by that. I think it's a really nice touch in these omnibus editions that they do reproduce those letters. As far as overarching narratives or story arcs, we don't really have a ton of that. A lot of the stories in this book are maybe 2 to 3 issues in length at maximum. A couple one-offs. We do have some evolution or changing amongst the characters, though, and their dynamics. That was definitely something I like. We get to see some of the characters mature or the dynamic deepen between the team. So that was all really fun to see. But again, no big, epic, overarching story arc in this omnibus. Just a couple great few-issue stories throughout. At the end of the omnibus, too, we have a load of extras, which is always fun. We have some great kind of outline, penciled and inked kind of works. We have reproductions of covers from different collected editions and a couple other bonuses. Yeah, just look at some of the extras here. What a treasure trove, again, for comic history fans and just people that want to just soak up this era. Omnibuses are great. I love getting all the bonus features at the back. And really, that is the Avengers Omnibus Volume 3. Like I said, this is a bit of an overview. I just touched on a few things about the books, maybe some of my favorite facets or features of it, how it's structured, things like that. If you're looking for a full review of this title, I will be releasing a full review on my channel in the coming weeks, The Comic Book Report. You can find me there. And if you want a copy of the Avengers Omnibus Volume 3, of course, check out organicpricedbooks.com. Thanks again for sticking around, everyone. Have a good one.